Und an dieser Stelle leite ich gleich über zu unserem NI Keynote Speaker. Es freut mich, dass in der doch begrenzten geografischen Größe der Schweiz doch eine gewisse Aufmerksamkeit auch gibt bei National Instruments im Konzern. Und es freut mich insbesondere, dass wir unseren Chief Operating Officer, Financial Officer und Executive Vice President bei uns haben. Und er wird über die Vision von National Instruments heute und in der Zukunft Ihnen ein Update geben. Und Alex, bitte on stage, please come on stage. Thanks. Good morning, Alex.
Much, Christian.
Here we go.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thank you, Christian. I'm excited to be here today. We're excited to share with you the expansions that National Instruments are making to our graphical system design platform, and we'll share with you throughout the day, and certainly hope that you have a good and enjoyable NIDays. I'm also personally excited. This is my 20th year this week with National Instruments, and I'd like to thank you, our customers, for your business, for your support over many years as we've built and evolved this company, and for helping us be successful with your feedback, with your enthusiasm for our tools, and with your enthusiasm for engineering. That's at the heart of everything we try to do. Now, National Instruments, as Christian said, our mission is to help scientists and engineers, to provide them with tools for innovation and discovery and productivity. And we are leading the evolution of the test industry, the measurement and control industry, into its third era. Many of you may be familiar with the beginning of the measurement industry in the vacuum tube era, which then transitioned in the 60s to the transistor era, and now is rapidly accelerating in its transition into the programmable software era. And at National Instruments, our graphical system design platform is leading that change, leading that evolution, and you, our customers, are at the forefront of becoming system designers at a time when the world really needs good system design. I have to apologize if my voice is a little bit weak today. I recently came back from China, and I was in Shanghai. And if you've been following the weather and the environmental reports in China, you'll know that the weather was not particularly good and the pollution was incredibly bad. And it really struck me on this trip. I've been going to China for about 14 years. It struck me on this trip that the path and trajectory that we're on as an economy and as a society is not sustainable. And if you want a real first-hand experience, land in Shanghai for about 3 or 4 hours. That's about all it'll take for the environment to physically start to break you down. It is amazing the extent to which that's having a detrimental impact in one of the biggest, most modern cities on the planet. So clearly, we have to do better. As a society, as a community of engineers, we have to do much better. The ambition of people to drive living standards is very strong, but the methodology by which we've been approaching how we do our job is no longer effective and certainly no longer scalable. Now, I know I'm in Switzerland, not China, and I know the clock and the watch has a special place in the heart of the Swiss. So I hope I'm not too controversial by using this as an image and then talking about the evolution of timekeeping. Now, obviously, measuring time is one of the most commonly used instruments in the world, and we have an image here of one of the earliest watches, a very sophisticated measurement piece for its time. But the question I ask you is how many people in the audience today are actually wearing a watch? Okay. How many people had a watch when they were younger, or maybe now, that you used to have to actually wind up? I had one. How many of your children wear a watch? None of mine do. My kids have transitioned, without a doubt, to the virtual watch, the virtual world. The idea that they would have to strap on something to their hand in order to know what time it is ridiculous to them. It seems insane. Their culture has completely shifted. And I think now we recognize that as it moves forward, the watch has become effectively a fashion piece. It's an accessory, it's jewelry. You don't actually need to have a watch to effectively tell what the time is at any point in time. And that's a pretty radical transformation. Now, when we look at the way the world used to be served in our industries and many others, it was quite common and normal for measurement systems, for test systems, for instruments, or for embedded systems to service a single function. You had a watch, it told you time. Maybe it was sophisticated, it would also tell you the day. But that's about all that it would do. And it was perfect for that function with the technology available at that time. My favorite one in this particular image on the left-hand panel, the rightmost image, is a bagpipe tuner. And for $150, $150, you could buy a specific handheld electronic device whose purpose was to help you tune bagpipes. And God knows bagpipes need tuning. So when you look at that device, it had a market and it had a niche of its own, and it could survive servicing that specific market with custom-designed electronics. And the same thing was there in the embedded market, a calculator. Again, the notion of a separate calculator is completely insane to my children. They immediately will grab to their phone, and it's a kind of a ridiculous idea that they would need anything else. My youngest daughter, who's still quite naive, believes my phone actually can measure temperature. So when we look at this world, it's changing rapidly, and in fact, the ability to have a business successfully selling a handheld electronic device for personal use that's custom-designed hardware is now dead. And it has been usurped and transitioned with a software programmable-based approach. You can now buy a bagpipe tuner for 99 cents on the App Store. Now, in reality, of course, that piece of software can't actually tune a bagpipe. It needs the hardware platform to go with it to be able to compete. But effectively, that hardware platform is free. So to the consumer, the bagpipe tuner costs 99 cents. And that effectively drives the poor guy who used to make bagpipe tuners as custom electronics out of business. And the same phenomena obviously is impacting lots of different embedded systems. Now, when you look at mobile devices, the key to this obviously is that iOS and Android provide a platform to allow software developers to take their intellectual property, their domain expertise, and to build an application on top of that platform that allows them to disrupt a market. And the number of markets they're disrupting is enormous. The PC as a platform, a standard hardware platform, allowed the disruption of hundreds of markets, from a word processor to a calculator, lots of different applications that were disrupted as a result of the standard software running on a standard platform. With the advent of these mobile devices, the number of markets being disrupted is in the millions. And the transition is incredible. And the power of a platform is that it abstracts the complexity of the hardware to a level where a domain expert can innovate and layer on their value, their IP, on top of that platform. If the person building a bagpipe tuner had to design the mobile device from scratch, obviously they wouldn't be competitive. So it's that standard platform, programmable with software, made available to a wide variety of applications that changes the world. Now, a second element that's really driving a major transition in our world of measurement and control systems is what's sometimes known as the fourth industrial revolution. There's lots of names that go with this. You've got Industry 4.0, you've got the Internet of Things. At National Instruments, we like to talk about it in terms of cyber-physical systems, the connection and the connectivity of the real with the virtual. And the premise deep at the heart of cyber-physical systems is the notion of ubiquitous sensing, universal networking, and limitless processing. And this transition, this availability of these intelligent, connected devices in massive quantity that are software programmable is changing the world and needs to change the world as we see it today. Now, at National Instruments, we've brought forward our platform to allow this innovation and transition to happen in the world of measurement and control. And the premise and usability of our platform is very much analogous to the mobile device platform. We want to provide a unified, common software architecture, a modular hardware architecture that allows our customers, scientists and engineers, to take their domain knowledge and rapidly develop the application that they're targeting, to be able to innovate much more rapidly in the past. And the key to that for us is we need to abstract up the low-level details, the complexity of the system, and allow our customers, scientists and engineers, to engage at the software programmable level and to provide tools to them that they can rapidly develop those applications in many, 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 many industries. There are literally millions of applications built on top of our graphical system design platform in a number of areas that is just way too broad to even mention. And it's bringing innovation to the industries that are ready to be disrupted. It's bringing an increase in, obviously, innovation and discovery, and allowing our customers, scientists and engineers, to spend their time where they really want to spend their time, which is in the domain where they add value. Now, at the heart of our graphical system design platform is LabVIEW, and in particular, the LabVIEW Rio architecture. LabVIEW for reconfigurable I/O. And it's this unique ability to be able to combine and unify in a single graphical design environment the power of a processor, an FPGA tightly coupled with I/O. The ability to do heterogeneous computing in a graphical, easy-to-use environment. Now, if we take a look at some of the applications and how our business has transitioned and our customers are transitioning their use of our tools and their fundamental expectations. For many years, National Instruments has been a leader in data acquisition. And a traditional data acquisition application was an individual engineer who would program an individual DAC board on an individual PC to do a specific application. And that is rapidly transitioning to leverage these phenomena of software programmable platforms, of cyber physical systems, to add significantly greater value with our tools. Now, one great example of this is Duke Energy. Duke Energy is the largest electrical utility in the United States. And we recently had a meeting down in Austin where a couple of their senior VPs were down talking about their challenge. And their challenge, interestingly enough, is that the engineers capable of monitoring their vibrating equipment, their rotating machinery, are getting older and are going to retire. That's the framework for their challenge. Their traditional way of monitoring this rotating machinery, large turbines, etc., has been to go to that particular location with one of these engineers who will touch it, listen to it, and smell it to try to figure out if it's going to have a problem. Not a very efficient and effective way to make sure you're ensuring uptime on this critical infrastructure. They're now transitioning to leveraging our graphical system design platform, LabVIEW FPGA, and our C-Rio hardware platform, to be able to automate that process and to be able to centralize the collection of data, to be able to keep the history, to be able to track the signatures of known problems, to be able to do preventative maintenance. And all at a cost that's about 10% of the cost of traditional tools that they could have approached the problem with. Now, of course, when he told me that, hey, this is about 10% the cost of the alternative, as a business guy, the first time I did it is looked at my sales guy and said, we're selling, where's the sales value here? You guys are not extracting sufficient value from this application. But it's a little bit like the iOS platform. If we're going to sell broadly a software deployable platform, we need to make sure that we're able to do that in a manner that leverages the cost of that standard platform across a large number of applications. So we can drive up the volume and drive down the price, opening and enabling that platform to be used by many of our customers. Another example of our success with graphical system design and our software programmable platform was the launch in 2012 of the world's first vector signal transceiver, a LabVIEW FPGA programmable RF measurement device, a very sophisticated, powerful, state-of-the-art RF device, allowing our customers to innovate and put their own intellectual property down on the FPGA close to the measurement to be able to do things in time frames and with precision that were simply not possible before. We just announced the second generation of the vector signal transceiver at Mobile World Congress last week. We're significantly increasing the bandwidth and performance of that device. But at the heart of the power of our Rio platform, or of our LabVIEW FPGA platform, is the ability to couple the processor, the FPGA, and the I/O in a unified, tightly synchronized way with a user-friendly application software that can be used by a domain expert. And an example of the power and value of that transition to our customers is Qualcomm. Qualcomm used to use standard benchtop test equipment to characterize their new chips when they came back from the fab. They transitioned in the 1990s, or in the 2000s, excuse me, to a PXI-based platform that allowed them to increase their speed of the application, the speed of test, by about 10x. They were a lead user for the vector signal transceiver development. They provided a lot of very important and valuable feedback as we went through the development of that, both from a hardware and a software perspective. And they were then able to take that tool and optimize the IP that's running close to the acquisition on the FPGA to get another 20x performance improvement in their ability to take the measurements that are necessary for them to characterize their device. Now, on the left is how they used to do it in terms of the available data as they were characterizing their device. And on the right is what they're able to do when they transition to a software programmable graphical system design platform. They're able to massively expand their ability to characterize their device, allowing them to improve, obviously, their yield, their performance, and allow them to be able to work with their customers to dramatically improve the performance, battery life, etc., of the devices into which their components are designed. And this transition, this ability to be able to do far more, far greater precision in a much smaller form factor at a much lower price is a tremendous operating advantage to a company like Qualcomm. The other thing that they really liked about this is they're able to implement that IP in the FPGA themselves. They didn't have to talk to the test vendor, get them to build a standard instrument that Broadcom could buy. They were able to retain that IP. And so the other value of the LabVIEW FPGA platform is the ability for you to customize the execution of the platform in software in the FPGA and obviously retain as much of that IP as possible. Now, the applications of our graphical system design platform span a broad arena of the industries in general, from medical devices to new RF standards being developed, obviously the advanced smart grid, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. We talked about some big physics applications the last time I was at NIDays in Switzerland, and I'm sure we'll be talking about some more of those as we go through today, and on and on. So the diversity and use of the platform is only really limited by the innovation and knowledge and domain expertise of our customers. And many of these applications now involve what we call big analog data. Now, others refer to it as the Internet of Things and connected world, etc. But our business, our world as engineers is really a lot about acquiring analog data. And traditionally, the acquisition of the analog data has been generally on an island, on a PC. And the ability now, as we have a much more connected world, lower cost, standard software programmable devices, to do what Duke Engineering is doing, or Duke Energy, to aggregate, store, and start to use that data through analytics to drive another level of business value. And so big analog data is a layer, a multiplier on top of the value that we can create by the acquisition of the data. That ability to store and analyze is transitioning the number of applications and the power that we can bring to society with graphical system design. Now, one application of graphical system design in Switzerland, especially in the smart grid arena, is EPFL, deploying our software and hardware platform in the form of a smart grid analyzer, leveraging their intellectual property, using their software programming skills to deploy that on our hardware platform, to be able to manage the grid on their campus, to be able to balance between the energy producers and the energy consumers. And as I come back to my story about being in China 2 weeks ago, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that we need to rapidly transition our ability to use energy far more efficiently if the world is going to be a livable place for the vast majority of its inhabitants. Now, I started with one of the oldest watches, and I want to transition to close with one of the oldest National Instruments marketing slides. And if you've been at these before, you've seen a lot of National Instruments marketing slides, or at least I have anyway. This is the oldest one we can find, and it goes back to the days when NI was a GPIB-only company. And the reason I refer back to this slide is that effectively our vision, while we've evolved it and enhanced it, remains almost identical to what it was at the very beginning of the company. Our vision as a GPIB supplier was to provide the opportunity to automate what had been manual, to be able to enhance the instruments that were already in existence, to be able to upgrade and take the information and do something more valuable with it than the person who defined that fixed function instrument planned for. So an ability to allow our customers, the scientists and engineers, to accelerate their innovation, their discovery, and their productivity. And that has been the mantra of the business since the company was founded. And the other thing I want to emphasize before I close is continuity. Now, evolution and transition and the new thing are all really important and exciting, and leveraging software programmable devices in a massively interconnected world is a really exciting, powerful idea. But along with that has got to come the ability to deliver continuity, the ability to enable the intellectual property that you as our customers create in our tools, that you have the ability to deploy that intellectual property on the hardware generations of the future. And NI has been relentless in our pursuit of compatibility. We continue to support the same GPIB standards we did over 30 years ago, and our history as a supplier to our customers is one where you can rely on us to provide the continuity necessary for you to be able to get a very good return on your investment by leveraging intellectual property over multiple generations of technology. Now, two last thoughts I'll just close with from a quick business point of view. Behind that vision that we've had for many decades is a commitment to invest in engineering. Now, National Instruments is a public company, has been a public company for almost 20 years. But we've built a brand in that public market as a relentless innovator and investor in technology. And despite the ups and downs of the market in 2001 or 2009, we've continued to follow our passion and drive our investment in this market space because we believe it's important to the world. And we believe that scientists and engineers desperately need tools to increase their productivity if we're going to solve the world's problems, and so we're committed to doing that. Now, we've been able to do it because you, our customers, have seen the value in what we do, have allowed us to continue to grow the business so that we have that ability to continue to invest, and that's what we will be doing as we move forward. We're going to drive an awful lot of innovation in this industry, and we hope to be able to provide value to you and your end customers as we move forward. So I'll close with this last image that I'd like to leave you with, and I'd like you to think about, what does graphical system design mean for you? What does cyber physical systems mean to you? Now, to many of our customers, our graphical system design platform means I can do simple measurements pretty easily and pretty quickly. For another set of our customers, it means I can do really high performance measurements in a customized manner that optimizes the execution of that device for my particular application. And still others will use it and view it as an ability to build an embedded system leveraging their intellectual property. And the reality, of course, is that our graphical system design platform is all of those. It encompasses each of those application ideas and many, many more. And the power that we bring to the marketplace is the ability to offer abstraction at a high level with our software tools that are deployable to any of our hardware platforms, and that we can aggregate the demand of the individual need that you have for your specific application. And we can couple that demand with the aggregate of the demand for many, many, many other applications, so that we can build a hardware in high volume, highly reliable, at a very low cost, and bring that value to our customers. So with that, I'll close. Again, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention this morning. I'd like to thank you for your business, and we appreciate you helping us grow and drive engineering. Thank you very much.